Welcome back to the Healthy with Heartland podcast. I am your host, Justin Freishtat. Is this thing on?
Yep.
We are on and we are live. Welcome back. And we got a great topic today. We're going to be talking about some big announcements here at Heartland Foods. Updates for 2022. It's actually going to be 2022, whether you believe it or not.
It's crazy.
Almost there. 15 days away. 14 days away? Something like that. Anyways, before we get into it, let's send it over to some announcements.
Let's do it. Welcome back, Heartland family. We have an amazing reorder special for you guys this month in December. So if you're ready to place your reorder, take advantage of that. You get a sweet treat or a dessert along with your reorder absolutely free. I also want to just give a quick shout out to all of our Heartland foodies. Thanks for participating in our 12 days of Christmas. We had a bunch of winners yesterday, which we announced, and we did send out some awesome Heartland swag. So look out for that. Christmas has also come early. We have a special promo. If you're part of the Heartland family, you can get 2 referrals between now and the end of the year, which is December 31st. You can get your order absolutely free. So we did post a link to that in the description up above. It's heartlandfoods.com/refer-xmas. So make sure to take advantage of that. It's one time only one time of year. And then we are having a 'Tis the Season special. So if you're placing your reorder for the next week, I believe you can send a special gift on behalf of Heartland Foods and yourself. You can send a sampler box to someone special who can try Heartland Foods at home in the convenience of their own home. So we're super excited about that. We hope that everyone takes advantage of it. We'll have a couple more announcements which we can talk about today as well. Mm-hmm. And with that, let's get into the podcast.
Been sending out a lot of these sample boxes, by the way.
Definitely have. People have been, really excited about it, and I think for a good reason.
Yep. Who wouldn't want to share the holiday, cheer with a little bit of Heartland Foods, right? They say that food is the way to a man's heart, but I think it's everyone. Everyone. Who won't like food?
Good food or get out. That's Texas's, whatever they call it.
Motto? Yeah, Dallas, yeah. That's Heartland's motto, too. It better be quality.
Good food or get
That's
out.
It. Quality of everything.
That's
Definitely. But we hope everyone is enjoying those samples, and we love to hear how your family's enjoying everything as well.
Sweet. We got some really huge news to kind of put out there. I think what goes better with spreading that holiday cheer than a little bit of a growth?
Yeah.
Expansion, so to speak.
Yeah, we had a post that came out in the foodie group. So maybe, Justin, you can let everyone know what's going on.
Yeah, we've been testing it for a little bit and been shipping some orders outside of our delivery service area. We wanted to test it with a couple referral customers before, sending it out, launching it out, and making sure the systems and all that were tightened up and rolling. So we are officially shipping direct to the entire Central and Eastern time zone.
Wow. That's so exciting.
That is very exciting.
Yes. So all your friends, family, anybody who's been waiting, seeing your posts and like, oh, I wish they came to our area. We are shipping on dry ice. So they can officially get on board, get their 3-year price lock, protect themselves from inflation, and of course, just get the awesome quality that comes with Heartland Foods.
That's right.
That's awesome. Yeah.
What better than that?
Definitely take advantage of that. I think there's a post in the foodie group too. So tag someone in that post who you think might love Heartland in their home as well.
Yep.
Yeah, and just invite your 5, right? The first post at the top of the foodie group, if you invite 5 people to the group and just comment in it, I invited my 5, you're entered to win, what is it, like $1,000 or something?
$2,000 worth of Heartland Farm Source products, absolutely free. So, and that's when we get to 5,000 members.
Yep. It's creeping up. We're over halfway there. So before you know it, somebody's going to be winning $2,000 of Heartland products.
Good job, everyone.
$2,000. That'd go a long way this Christmas, right?
Definitely.
With all the inflation, you need some of that $2,000. Invite your 5.
It is pretty crazy. I mean, the data came out again. We're on the hottest inflationary period in U.S. history. I think except for like in 1778 when the price of 3-pronged pointed hats went up. By
Really?
Yeah, literally, I heard a stat. This is the hottest inflation since then. So
Wow. That's crazy.
That is.
The times we live in.
But not at Heartland Foods because we have small supply chains and we are just not exposed like the commercial supply chain. You also have to realize, your food is traveling all around the world before it gets to you. So rising costs of shipping and gas and all this stuff, it really inflates the cost of goods in the commercial supply chain. And ours are smaller, tighter, so we don't have to put the same burden on our customers, which is great because we're only up 2.5% on cost. And the same period of time, this time last year, it's about 12% you're paying in the grocery store for food. So sorry about it.
Yeah. No, that makes a huge difference. You mentioned holidays and, of course, Christmas time, but I mean, all year round, food is
Absolutely.
the number one cost.
Well, when it comes to holidays, you think about like people go to the grocery store to get tenderloins and they go to grocery stores to get roasts and they go, you know what I mean? Like they have these traditional holiday dishes and things that they go out and get. Now you're going and you're seeing crazy inflated prices that makes you think, hey, maybe I'm not gonna go cook those kind of things.
Yeah.
But with Heartland,
you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, right. Those families, you're still able to keep up with your traditions the same as you would any other year. I mean, when you say like 2% compared to what the nation's going through, I mean, I think that speaks volumes.
Yeah. I met with a family last night, put together their program, and it averaged out to their cost per meal was $4.68. And of course you get your 20-point pantry package with that. So really they're probably more like, I don't know, $3.80, $4 a meal.
Right.
And then I'm in the grocery store last night picking up a couple things, getting some almond milk. And I'm literally looking at like the cost of a Quest bar, like a meal replacement.
Right.
And
That's
it's
crazy.
literally like $3, like $4. I'm like, you're going to pay the same thing for a meal from us that a snack cost in the grocery store.
Yeah, it's very true. That's really, really true.
Yep. When you put it that way as well, I mean, you know what I mean? That's crazy. We're just two people. You can't go into the grocery store without spending at least $100, and that's just on, you know what
Nothing.
I mean? Yeah. Soda water
like
and
stuff that's not even going to get you through the week. Yeah, it's really crazy. And then when you put it like that, like a snack is costing you now $2, $3, $4, especially like if you wanted something that was, quality, but you're not even getting the proper nutrition out of a
meal
Quest bar that you
right.
would with like a Heartland Foods meal. It's not the same thing.
No.
So it's crazy, especially the quality that you're getting and then the nutrients that's providing to your body. It's like a double win.
The pasture raised eggs last night were $8 for
12 eggs.
12 eggs. Yeah.
Yeah. See.
I mean, we're getting close to $1 an egg, people. I mean,
Yeah, that's a lot. And then you got the 99-cent eggs that are sitting like right next to it.
Yeah.
You're like, how
but
is
I
that
don't eat
possible?
torture, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost to the point where you're going to have to start buying your own chickens.
Yeah.
Because then, I mean, how much does a chicken cost?
Well, I mean, buying them and then raising them probably would end up evening out to what you're spending.
Almost,
if
you're
you're
paying
almost
$8
$1 per egg.
Yeah.
it's crazy.
It is crazy.
Just don't buy a Cobb Ventris chicken.
Oh.
What's that?
Oh, do you know about Cobb Ventris?
No.
Oh man. So Tyson owns Cobb Ventris.
Okay.
And they are responsible, them and Viagen, they're responsible for over 90% of the chicken breeding in the world. 68 billion chickens produced per year, and they breed over 90% of them. They're those, the broiler hens, the genetically engineered, the red Cornish cross.
Yep.
Right.
And this evolved from the 1940s, which is very interesting. I was reading about this. But they had chicken competitions, like breeding competitions, to see who could breed them bigger, faster, whatever. And that's how these two companies got started. And they eventually, sold to Tyson, and that's who actually owns like literally the entire breeding supply of chickens in the world.
Wow.
98%.
Talk about a monopoly.
That's pretty much the whole thing. Wow, that's really wild. So then you talk about how awesome it is to get a heritage Hubbard breed chicken. You're
in the 2%?
I'm feeling really good.
If you're getting a heritage breed, you're in the 2%.
Well, think about this too. It's 4% of the food sold is organic. So
That's true.
it's just, it's kind of like almost an elite thing if you get access to something that's not genetically engineered in a factory at this point.
Which is crazy.
And we wonder why we have a $4 trillion healthcare problem in this
That's
country.
Seems super backwards. Wow.
I feel like it's only, this could just be me, but I feel like that's only going to get worse as time kind of goes on. If people don't start paying attention and start voting with their dollars, I feel like it just gets worse. It keeps getting swept under the rug.
Sounds like
Next thing you know, you're eating something made out of a lab that isn't really even food. It just is quote unquote labeled eggs or something.
Well, access to it seems like it's not, like Hubbard, if it's only 2% or however, such a small percentage is actually, what you should be like consuming.
Mm-hmm.
How is the entire population going to have access to that? We need to do something now.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yep. it's like one of those things. I don't know if it can get reversed or what, but I mean, got to save yourself before you can save everybody else. So,
and that's just chicken. You know, we could go into beef, pork, seafood is a whole nother one. We've done that before.
Yeah.
And that's crazy as well.
Yeah.
Depressing. But wow. Yeah, I think that's why it's so important to support the farms that are doing it the right way, like we always talk about.
Yep.
Because it doesn't seem like they are the majority. They're obviously the minority. That makes it even more important.
At this point, I feel like, it's slightly sort of changing. Like as more information gets out there, as people start to, see that, the climate is changing and there's like tornadoes everywhere. And then today they had some post about, how much like hurricane winds were out there and all that kind of stuff. So as all that stuff started to change, people are starting to notice, hey, there is something wrong. How can we change this? You change it by taking care of the ocean, taking care of the land, making sure the animals are getting fed properly. All that stuff really matters, when it comes down to it. So
let nature do its thing.
Right.
It's just crazy that the number one emitter of carbon is literally us releasing it from the ground.
Yeah.
Because we till. I mean, it just gets no attention.
Yep.
And then the thing is that we're doing all this, the industrial agriculture is doing all this tilling, is doing all this thing and producing food that we know is not even of the best quality, number one, right? And then number two, on top of that, I kind of lost my train of thought, but
I'll finish it for you. So
like,
when you till
too many things
and you use inputs and synthetics and fertilizers and pesticides, it's 45% less vitamins, minerals, and nutrients than if it came from healthy topsoil. So
there it is.
So it's worse off for you. And then, there's where I was going with it. And then a lot of it's getting wasted. Like over 50% of the food that's produced in, commodity farms or by industrial agriculture is wasted. It goes to waste. So we're not even using it and we're ruining everything by producing it that way in the first place. So that doesn't make any sense.
well, you know why they overproduce?
Why?
Because our tax dollars subsidize it. So it's like
so
everything
that's how
like
they
with
get
government
paid.
budgets, right? It's like, okay, we're getting towards the end of the year. We didn't use the whole budget. What can
Right.
we spend it on so that we get the same funding next year?
Right.
It's
Okay.
like
If
the
not, you lose
dairy
it.
industry. Like it's
Yep.
on a decline. Well, they get the same subsidies every year. So they just put that crap in cold storage and then just never use it. And like we literally pay for food to go just sit somewhere and then get thrown out.
Yeah, see, wow.
It's unbelievable.
And then
It's
we haven't
literally
even talked about how and the trash and recycling and that whole aspect too, because are they even doing what they're supposed to be doing? That's a whole nother aspect as well.
Yeah.
Have we talked about how phthalates could make our species go extinct?
No.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty intense.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so phthalates are
Like plastics, like
it's the component in plastics that makes the more durable and elastic.
malleable, yeah.
Yeah, so that's what they use it for. But when ingested by humans, it has a hormonal effect because BPAs and phthalates, I mean, it's synthetic estrogen
Hormones.
Oh, wow.
is what it is. So yeah, so there's a great book called Countdown, and it's study after study about the rate of miscarriages going up, infertility going up, the male sex organ shrinking from microplastics, and the effects of the estrogenic load that everyone is getting. And it's like it's different effects in males and females,
Yeah.
but they're basically showing the length of this is going to get weird, but the length of the taint is shrinking.
Oh my goodness.
And they can see the effect of this, and they're basically saying over the next couple hundred years, humans literally might not be able to reproduce because of exposure to BPAs, phthalates, and these synthetic chemicals.
That's scary.
That could be what ends our race
Yeah.
as a human species is phthalates.
Oh my
Not a meteor.
goodness.
Phthalates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's common to use those plastics, right? Like I mean it's in most packaging.
It's almost
in everything.
It's in water, it's in bottles, like in everything.
Yeah. Right.
Anytime
Oh my
you
goodness.
ingest something that came out of a can, right? So like the olive oil we have it in a can, the Zoe from Spain.
Yeah.
It's in a can, so there's no light exposure, which is good. What's inside of it? A BPA-free liner. So it's not exposing the olive oil to the can.
Yes.
So how much of your canned products are doing that for you? None.
Wow.
So you're exposing yourself to all those phthalates, thereby exposing yourself to possible not being able to reproduce and all those other extra estrogen, all that kind of stuff. That's insane.
Right. Kind of like our packaging, right? It's not the most durable. It does have sometimes some pinholes. You'll get some leaky, like when you're defrosting.
Right.
But what's better? Should we use phthalates and BPA and make it insanely durable and then poison your family, or or should we just replace the product when it happens? It's a little inconvenient, but we don't have phthalates in our packaging. So.
Right.
Yeah. See.
I mean, it's tick for tack. What would you rather? Poison or just replace the product? A little bit of an inconvenience. Maybe now you defrost in we do it sometimes just in a bowl. I mean, you can defrost it right then and there, or you can put it in the fridge and we just put it in something. And, if it does have the little, because I don't want to, the liquid or the, what is it, myoglobin?
Yeah.
To go all over. I want that to be in my body. I need that protein. Right? So, we'll put it in something. I mean,
it's not a crazy deal to avoid poisonous toxins.
Right. Right. And what would that say to the product then, right? We have this great product, and then we're going to wrap it with phthalates and all kinds of different chemicals and stuff like that. Like, we want you to eat healthy, but we also want to poison you with chemicals on the other end.
Right.
Doesn't make sense.
No.
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense.
It's just so hard to build the complete value of what we provide.
Right.
Especially when you meet with a family over Zoom or in person, and it's maybe 30 minutes, an hour or two. When I have a week-long seminar that I'm trying to compress into this short amount of time, it's like, there are so many ways that we're keeping your family safe that you have no idea.
Yep.
And the quality of the food. And then it's just the most heartbreaking thing when you hear at the end of a presentation or something and someone goes to price and it's the is it $50 more a month than the grocery store? Because and they don't see the value. It's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's because it's not their fault. They just literally don't understand that the decision they're making is, I'm willing to poison my family over $50 a month.
Yeah. And that's what's important to you,
Yep. Pay the farmer now or pay the doctor later.
That's really the choice, because either way, you're going to spend the money.
Yeah. It's going to go somewhere.
Whether it's now or later. So.
And most families end up saving money because it changes the lifestyle.
Yes.
100%.
But even if you kept the lifestyle the same, you kept going out to eat, and we were a little bit more expensive. I mean,
and you're investing in your health, right?
Yeah, I mean, I take responsibility for it. If someone doesn't sign up for this, it's my fault. I failed to convey all these different levels of value.
Wow. I mean,
but it's tough to do in a short amount of time.
Yeah,
right. That's what I was going to say.
It's all the education.
That's
behind,
the biggest part.
Why, and
is because it is an education, because there's been so much misinformation over the years that you're dealing with 20, 30, 40 plus years of just information.
Generational beliefs too,
that people are like, oh no, that, what they have in the grocery store, they're worried about my health. This is a quality product that I'm getting here.
Not even that. People are just stuck in their ways. It's you're used to just going to the grocery store. That's what you do. You just pick up groceries, you go here, and then when you are hearing about or you're experiencing something different, because we do things differently. At Heartland, it's just another way of. I think it's just hard for people to wrap their mind around. But once they experience it, or if they know someone who does have our service and they can explain, what it's like, on a day-to-day basis, because it's all about making those right choices and the things that are healthier and better for you easier, like you always say, because that's what's going to really make the difference in terms of, a lifestyle change, like you mentioned, making a lifestyle change.
And we know it's really never price.
Right.
It's just, that's just the way people sort of, they don't know, they don't have all the information. They're still not sure, but it's really never, ever, the price. Because when you're comparing price, I mean, how can you really compare?
It's
how
not
can you
same.
compare the price of what we're giving you to something you're getting in the grocery store when the chicken, like you always say, is filled with, like the saline solutions and things like that? I'm getting this by the pound. Like, what price really? What is it? Well,
that's made up too, and we've talked about that too. The way that things are priced in the grocery store is just. It's just a way for them to make money. Everything's price per pound. Right. Where else do you shop price per pound? Nowhere.
Right, but people will still make a decision based off of false beliefs, right?
Yes.
It doesn't matter what's true.
Right.
If you believe something else, it doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
So, it's just interesting.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I feel like it's so important, the education of it. And that's why I feel like our introduction, our presentation, when you go out and see a family, like they are not only getting introduced to Heartland and this avenue to eat healthy and feed their family and feel good about what they're feeding their family, but also they're learning about, the organic labeling and what do these certain things mean and why the food should be coming from a farm in the USA. Like all of these things, that's huge.
They have to be willing to listen and
hear it.
receive the information.
Yeah.
Yep.
They have
That's
to
true.
not have a preconceived notion that I'm coming to sell them something.
Yep.
People have a way of talking themselves out of things that are great for them out of fear.
Mm-hmm.
Preconceived, like
Yeah.
in advance, barriers, fears, and it's all a reflection of just inner insecurities to the situation. And
Right.
sometimes I just see it. It doesn't matter what you do, how genuine you are, how great your product is. People will blind themselves to the truth out of their own fear.
That's the unfortunate part about, doing what we do, because I feel like there's a lot of companies and businesses out there that kind of ruin it, for other businesses.
Yep.
Whereas they're out there and they're, they just want to go out and make money and make a sale. Whereas here you have the like the longevity, like we want to help you as far as health goes. And I think that's the key word, is we really want to help you. Yes, you have to pay for service. You have to pay for everything. You have to eat. You're going to pay for food either way. Just
Right.
where are you going to pay for the food and what quality of product, all those kind of things. So I think, that education piece that we always go to is super important.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's so hard. It's the nature of the business, though, right? We're not out there trying to sell you something that's you're not going to use, essentially. Like, this is food you're going to eat. You have to.
I think that's why it's so frustrating,
Yeah, I mean, it's that whole lead a horse to water, you can't make them drink kind of deal.
But-
But it is really rewarding on the
Yeah.
other end.
Yes.
When you have customers who have been here for a while, who have, noticed these things, and maybe they were skeptical at first as well. Because,
Or I'm sure, Justin, I mean, you've been doing this over 10 years. Like, you've heard the stories of, people's lives being changed
Right.
because of the service and because of the service that you
Over
provided.
and over and over. And that's
what it's about.
I used to get all hung up on some of these outlier situations, but if you go to see somebody and they literally know 5 families that have been using it for close to a decade, they love it, and they haven't, they've been watching it, and they're just now having that appointment, it's the same person that also won't make a decision to make their family's life better because there's something inherent that's holding them back. They just can't get over the hump, and things have to stay the same. Sometimes for people, just no change is better than a good change. And it's
hard.
It's sad. So I always try to bring my best effort to help them get over that more so than anything, because they're holding their whole family back.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. It's a tough, I mean, it's the health industry, right? You think about, coaching, you think about the personal trainers, the fitness levels, all those kind of things. It's the same thing. Whereas, like, if you do this now and you're consistent with it longevity wise, I mean, right now you may not see it, but in 2 weeks, in 3 weeks, in a month, what is that worth to you?
Yeah.
In 6 months of you eating right, of doing these certain, eating with Heartland Foods and cooking at home, in 6 months, a year time, 2 years, 5 years, you look back, that decision was, I mean, how can you really put a number on it? How can you put a price on that?
Yeah.
You can't. It's like what you just said, coaching. That's opened up my life to whole new levels, new worlds. Every time I've gotten a coach, it's like, man, why did I wait so long?
Yeah.
Right? We all have our own barriers that we have to get over
Yeah.
to get to the next level. But I mean, the shortcut, I was watching the Brad Lee video. There's like, oh, there's no shortcuts in life. No, there's absolutely shortcuts. The shortcuts are found in the people that know more than you, that can literally elevate you based off of where they've gotten to in life. You don't have to figure it out yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's the information that you're paying for, it's the acceleration, right? Because if you were to start something brand new, you'd have to learn everything, learn the ropes of all of that. Whereas a coach is going to come through and they're going to accelerate that time, that process. They're going to give you those
Tools,
keys, right?
Information, those tidbits, and insight, like you mentioned. Like, experience can't be replaced. So that information is invaluable.
It saves you years of failure.
Right.
I mean, literally years of failure. You can learn the hard way, very slowly, based off of your experiences and where you started from and everything that you know. Or you can literally pay someone for the acceleration.
Yep. Knowledge, insight, guidance,
And it always comes back.
advice.
Yeah.
Every dollar I have spent on coaching, mentoring, programs, a lot, 6 figures of dollars I've spent on personal development has made me triple, at least. That's just how it works. You can never get something that you're not willing to give first.
Right.
It's an investment in yourself, just like we talk about investing in your health. It's all an investment in yourself.
Yep.
Yeah, like the supplements are expensive. Well, you might die from COVID if your vitamin D levels are low. Like, I don't have to tell you. Like, it's like,
yeah.
And if you look across the board at anyone that is, health-wise is in a good place, usually their money is right. All of those kind of things. It falls in line, right?
Right.
And so with, the whole coaching aspect, you're having someone be able to kind of give you that information, give you those guidelines so that you're not going to have to do the same exact thing that everyone else kind of goes through, and it kind of elevates you, right? So you're saying you have, plenty of coaches and you've gone through and you spent that amount of money on coaching. I think it speaks levels to where you're at, you know what I mean? And what you're doing, being able to take you from point A to point B and accelerate that time, because if not, where would you be? You know what I mean? You'd sit here for 5 years and make a plan. And I think that's the other part of it, right? Maybe a coach actually helps you take that step. Because a lot of times you get into a rut and you're trying to figure out, a solution to a certain problem.
But you don't act.
Right, and you don't act. And
you have all these ideas, but how do you put that into motion, right? How do you put that plan into motion? And that's a key step, like if not the only step, because it is the catalyst to, moving forward or growing or whatever it is, getting towards the goal that you have, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I can give so many examples of this. It's like, okay, you're starting you want to grow your TikTok, right? The best guy, if you want to learn how to TikTok at a high level, is like $5,000 to work with him. Okay. You make that investment. The knowledge, like you can put TikTok videos out all day long and fail and never get anywhere. Or he knows that the algorithm wants it to be 18 to 22 seconds.
Right.
It wants you to use all the features, like put the music in. Even if you don't want the music on there, you just reduce the volume to 0, but now it's going out to the trending music that you strategically put here. And there's like an invaluable information. You blow up a TikTok, you monetize it, you make $500,000. So that's just how it works. Like proximity, right? It's like going to these conferences, all this networking, you end up sitting next to someone or meeting someone that opens you up to a whole new world. Or, that's how I met some of the people. Too. It's all relationships. That's how I met some of the people that I real estate invest with.
Yeah.
Like a couple $1,000s. Oh, it's expensive.
Yeah.
But like the more you pay to sit closer to the stage, who are you sitting next to? Someone that I'm making a lot of money with in real estate right now.
Yeah. See, it's just as much about the relationships as it is, the other things too. So I think that's huge.
Well, I think now the relationships is even more important.
Yeah.
Because there's so many people, the internet gives you so many channels, and be able to have an actual connection and network with someone is so much more valuable than, just you can be an influencer, right? And you could have a lot of people following you and watching what you're doing.
Right.
But if you don't have other connections, that's going to run out.
Yeah.
You have to have those other networks and those other connections to be able to, like you said, be able to grow, be able to get coached, be able to be mentored in certain areas that maybe, you don't necessarily know anything about. And that's going to accelerate your time. And for me, it's like I was a video game player, and I say was because now I don't play many video games, but now I just look at this as like a video game. It's like you're going to get to the next level. You know what I mean? You're going to jump to another level with a coach, right? Where you'd be sitting there with the first level boss the entire time.
Yeah. Well, it's not like it's impossible. It's just going to take you that much longer. And how many times, like you said, you could sit there and make 20 TikToks, but if you don't know that 1, 2, 3 things that you need to hit in order to get to XYZ, it just takes you so much more time. And I feel like there's so much more that you could be doing if you already have those key insights.
You can also screw this up. Like, don't hire a coach that hasn't done the thing that you want to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Taking advice from someone who hasn't maybe done the same exact thing.
Right.
Yeah.
That's funny. The video game analogy. That's like, it's not getting a coach is like you're playing Mario Kart and you get the star and you go, nah, I don't want to use it.
Right.
And you just don't take the star.
Right.
Nah, I'd rather go slower.
Yeah. I'd rather not. I'd rather just sit here in the loops. You know what I mean? Doing the same thing over. I mean, that's insanity, right?
Yeah.
Doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different outcome.
Yeah.
And it's one thing that, that Jerry talks about a lot too, is like the education process. You always got to be a student.
Yeah.
No matter how much you
Always
think
learning.
you know, you always have to go back and you go to these conferences and you're going to pick up something new. Maybe you're going to read that book again and you're going to pick up something that you didn't necessarily pick up the first 2 times that you read it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's super important. I mean, being a student of the game, that's,
huge.
Yeah, it's huge. And you got to find, like you said, you got to find those right teachers, those right coaches.
Yeah.
They're going to be able to accelerate that time for you.
Yeah.
And JT gave his book reading strategy of like how to learn. So you find, like, let's say any topic, you find the first book that was written in it, because usually the first one's the best. That's the innovator.
Right.
Right. You find the first one and then the best one. and then one that you're just kind of interested in, that one that you like, right?
Mm-hmm.
You read those 3 books. Like if it's real estate, that's how you would approach it. If it's wealth, if it's health, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And the first time you just read the book for fun. You just read it. The second time you highlight. Third time through, you read what you highlighted. And that's a way to literally extract the knowledge from a different segment. And then you move on to the next thing you want to learn.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And I thought about that because it's like, I got obsessed with categories, and I'm like, I'm going to listen to every audible in the category. And then it's like, this is repetitive, and I'm wasting time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Interesting.
I think that's been a
like
lifesaver now for me. It's because I think reading actual books with the paper, for me, it's an attention thing. Like I don't enjoy that, but listening to it audio wise, I'll listen to the same book, 2-3 times over, and I enjoy it that much more than actually. I don't know if it's the visual thing where I have to like sit here and like read through it, but whatever mode I'm in, if I'm listening to the book, it's a lot better for me to be able to kind of grasp what I'm at, like learn exactly what's kind of going on.
Probably like the way that you interpret and absorb information, because I feel like I would benefit more from like what you said. Like I'm gonna read it, I'm gonna highlight what jumps out at me, and then I'm gonna go back and look at the stuff that I highlighted, and it's gonna jump out at me. I don't know. That's really interesting. I never heard that. I think that's pretty cool. I should try that.
Yeah, I heard another thing about the neuroscience of this, and it's like, so I'm the same way. Audible, audio. Reading's kind of painful for me.
Yeah.
Well, I've gotten really good at the audio, and that's like the neural pathways connected to my ears and all that stuff. Well, like I need to force myself now to read to develop new neural pathways and unlock different parts of your brain. So it's like you gotta like force yourself to do some of the stuff that you don't want to do. And a year from now, I'm sure I'll be ripping through books reading it, right? So.
And then it's cool because you have both avenues, right? Like you can be listening to a podcast while you're, walking through the airport, or you're driving in the car, but you could be like reading if you have, time to be sitting there. If that's what you do before you go to sleep, you can do both.
Even just sitting there, you know what I mean? If I can just listen to it, I feel like I can. For reading, for me, it's like it takes me a long time to read a book because I go back and I reread it so many times because I'm like, I didn't quite get that. Let me go back and like read that again. So then I'll reread it, and the next thing you know, like if I would have just listened to it, I feel like I pick it up a lot better. Because sometimes when you're driving in the car and you'll kind of doze off and you won't really listen to the book. I don't enjoy that part because then I feel like there's parts of the book that I missed. I'm like, wait, what? I didn't get that part. Like, what happened there? So like, I have to kind of like totally be focused in on what I'm listening to or what I'm reading. But with the the pages, then I guess it's the same thing. You got to get comfortable being uncomfortable. If I have to read it, I got to read it because I got to be able to develop those pathways like you're saying.
But then just because we're on this topic, then it's interesting too because like I'll listen to like the Joe Rogan podcast per se, like on Spotify. But then like they also have the video version, so it's like sometimes I like watching the visual version, and then like listening to it is kind of like weird after I've watched like an episode. You know what I mean? Or I never make it through the whole entire episode because they're always so long. But I do enjoy like the visual aspect too. So I just think it's cool that there's so many different ways you can consume it, and I guess be experimental with the ways in which you are absorbing content via reading, watching, listening, etc.
Yep.
Interesting.
Sure, there's other ways.
It just reminded me of something. I was listening to Rogan's yesterday with maybe it was Peter Schiff, Harvard professor.
I was talking about I don't remember.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But they were talking about different types of like energy, right? And nuclear energy being like the least carbon footprint. It's by far the best solution, but we do wind turbines, we do all this other crap that has issues.
Right.
And it's because of the human connection to nuclear being bad. Right? It's like a mental thing.
Yeah.
And he basically said that someone was making the argument that Bruce Springsteen, like whatever, they did this whole like tour about, no nukes, all this stuff, and it basically killed the nuclear energy industry, which would have been the solution. And they're making the argument that Bruce Springsteen basically is like one of the worst things to climate change ever.
Oh my God.
Which is true because these things have an effect on how things play out, right? Because you need public acceptance.
Right.
It's like the public accepts electric cars. It doesn't do anything to work off the legacy carbon load. Nothing.
Bruce.
Why?
What have you done? That's so
Really funny. Unintended
goodness.
consequences, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
Interesting. So you think people just have a misconception about what
Well, I
that
think they
actually
definitely do,
like?
yeah.
Well, yeah, no, because when you first said it, I was like, ooh, and then
Yeah.
you said it, I was
Yeah.
like, oh,
you're like, oh, nuclear power, maybe it sounds bad, right?
Right.
And you think like Fukushima, you think like,
Mhm.
Yeah.
okay, well, that was
crazy stuff happening.
a terrible engineering, like bad situation should never happen.
Right.
Yeah.
It's actually one of the safest
Interesting.
forms of renewable energy that there is. Like,
Yeah.
that's the answer.
Wow.
Very interesting.
So are they working on implementing that, or they were just discussing that as an option?
I'm not sure.
Oh, well, I'm gonna have to look
Talking
into
about the, I guess just the way that things are perceived and
Mm.
how it affects what actually takes place and moves forward. Like, no one's going to
That's
work
true.
on something that people won't publicly adopt.
that.
Yeah.
Jeez, that's
Yeah.
intense.
But I mean, because I've been to the places in Japan where they have, you know what I mean, that were struck by those the nuclear bombs, and it's super eerie. I mean, like the things that can happen from that it's crazy. Like, so I think, that part I can see, but I guess people's perception of it is, if anything could or would go wrong with it,
Yeah.
like how, like, much, I guess,
Well, it's like
an issue that
technology,
would-
right? Like, it connects us. We're all like, we love technology,
Right.
but it also has a very dark side.
Yeah.
Okay,
Sure
well,
does.
nuclear power plants have nothing to do with nuclear bombs. Like,
Yeah.
we can have one that's very beneficial and not do the other one.
Right.
It's like,
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's just the word nuclear that gets
yes.
that gets you. You know,
Yeah.
that's it's because of what people associate in their mind with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's super interesting.
It's the old Freakonomics thing. If you haven't read that book, very eye-opening. Freakonomics. It talks about how the perception of something is so different than the data. So it's like guns, right? Like when a child, God forbid, dies from a gunshot, or like they found a gun in a house, like it's like very, I don't even know what the word is. Like it's cringy, right? It's impactful. It's like, oh my goodness, right?
Yeah.
But a kid dies in a swimming pool, it doesn't have the same effect. So more kids die in swimming pools by like, I can't remember what the stat is, but it's like tenfold of that die from gunshot wounds. But we're trying to take away the guns. No one's trying to ban swimming pools.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it like gives you all these correlations as to how things are perceived versus what the actual data is.
Right.
Like you wouldn't not let your kid go near a swimming pool, but it's way more dangerous than having them around a gun.
Wow.
It's
Yeah,
true.
see, but because of the way that you perceive it, or because
Perception.
of a specific experience, or something that someone you know, or something you've been through. Wow, yeah, that's crazy.
That's that perception is reality, right? Like people will perceive something and it will become their reality. Like it's the same thing when we talk about food, that whole perception of food and, oh, what am I getting? What am I eating? Like it's that same misinformation can create those, false perceptions, and those perceptions can then create realities. And then it goes back to the Bruce Springsteen thing. Then all of a sudden you have, people marketing and saying, oh, milk, it's good for you.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, oh, we need to drink milk every day.
I think we could go on and on and on about this, but I think we should wrap it up. We'll have Justin send us off, but before we do, this is going to be our last podcast episode for the end of the year, and we'll be back January 6th, which is Thursday at 9:30 a.m. With another podcast episode for you guys. And with that, Justin, you can go ahead and send us off.
Yep. So new year, new you. Make 2022. Make a decision today. It's going to be the best year yet, right? If you're not planning for that now, it probably isn't going to happen. So get your mind right, get refocused, and we will see you next year. So until then, stay healthy with Heartland.